second question that I received was what to do when your contractor gets over on you. So first, remember that first thing that I talked about a while ago, which is quality, cost, speed. So those are the three things those are the three kind of factors that you're looking to balance when you're looking to select a contractor. So you want good quality, you want speed, and you want reasonable costs, right? The work that good contractors do and the level of satisfaction that you have when dealing with them usually is a direct function of how well you're communicating the scope of the project. That's the first thing. How well do you communicate the scope of the project and the scope of the work? Which means if you have a project and you are not very clear on what exactly you need for them to do, then there's a good chance you will not be satisfied no matter how good the contractor is, because expectations, dissatisfaction is usually about expectations that have been missed, right? Or uncommunicated or not met. And so the biggest thing is to communicate clearly your expectations, which is why I recommend like writing down scopes clearly, construction scopes clearly to your contractor, and sitting down when you have a project and going over the scope of the work with the contractor to make sure that everything that you're expecting to be done gets done and included in their scope and in their pricing and in their considerations. So that's the first step, is to avoid the dissatisfaction and to avoid the unmet expectation, is to clearly communicate the scope of the work for the project. So that's the first thing. The second thing is clearly communicate how the payments are going to be made. So typically people will split up the payment like a third up front when someone gets started based off of what exactly they're doing. A third at some point, maybe once some inspection or some milestone is reached, and then a third to kind of close out the end of the project. And the reason why you split up the payments, of course, one is that in case the contractor is not able to complete the work, you still have some funds to be able to complete the portion of the work in case the contractor kind of leaves the job or whatever. Also, you incentivize the contractor to get the work done, because sometimes, depending on who you're selecting, once you pay them, they may not come back the next day. So making sure that you're paying them and that you're communicating how you're going to pay them is also a good way to mitigate unmet expectations and dissatisfaction with the project. The third thing is to regularly inspect the work that they're doing. So you would hate to get all the way to the end of a project. I remember at one time I was doing a project, a contractor I had left the grout for the tile in each bathroom that the grout was supposed to go in. But for some reason, when I came in and I inspected the project, I saw that the contractor used gray grout on the white tile. Now, I caught it early enough in the process because I inspected the work as it was happening, and I was able to stop him and say, hey, look, the grout is gray. It's supposed to be white. And he was like, oh, man. And so he was able to scrape it out and replace it with white grout because I caught it in time before the grout had actually hardened. So regularly inspect the work in order to make sure that as they're doing the project, your expectations are being met. And then finally, quite honestly, sometimes you got to chalk it up to the game, man. I remember I've had some experiences where somebody had to talk me off a ledge from doing something bad to a contractor because they had taken my money, they hadn't performed the work, and this was kind of brand new. And I've out of the goodness of my heart, I paid the person thinking that they were going to continue doing the work and doing a good job, and they didn't. And they made off with a bunch of money, thousands of dollars, and I was pissed, very pissed. I had a baseball bat. I will tell you this. I had a baseball bat in the car, and I was headed to Clinton, Maryland. And I called a friend of mine, and she talked me off the ledge. But it was going to go down that night. Sometimes stuff happens, man. And you got to chalk it up to the game. But those three things are ways to kind of mitigate it before it happens and head it off at the pass. Regular inspections of the work, clearly communicating the scope of the work, writing it down and agreeing to it. And then 3, clearly communicating how payments are going to be made for the work that's performed.